Everyone else retires on a Friday and has a $75,000 truck in the driveway by Monday. They spend years 1 through 5 on the remodel, the RV, the boat, the trips, and they quietly cross their fingers that the market behaves. The market does not care about your fingers. So here we are. You don't need to avoid all 10 of these things. You probably can't. And honestly, you shouldn't even try. Retirement is supposed to be enjoyable. The point isn't to spend nothing. The point is to stop hemorrhaging money in the categories that don't actually improve your life. Cut 3. That's it. Drop the new car lease cycle. Walk away from the country club. Cancel the monthly Venmo to your 31-year-old. That's $42,000 per year you've stopped lighting on fire. Over 20 years of retirement compounded at 7%, you've preserved over $2.1 million in wealth. That's the entire gap between neighbor A and neighbor B at the beginning of this video. Same income, same starting nest egg, same visible lifestyle, but neighbor B is going to die rich. And neighbor A is going to spend his last 5 years quietly running the numbers, wondering if he should sell the lake house, wondering if he should ask his son to stop accepting the monthly transfers, wondering how the math got away from him when he was so sure it wouldn't. The wealthy retirees who stay wealthy don't have a secret ingredient. They have a list of things they refuse to buy. Most people watching this video will agree with everything in it and then change nothing. They'll lease the BMW anyway. They'll buy the boat. They'll keep Venmoing their kid. The math doesn't care. But if you're the kind of person who actually listens, who actually runs the numbers, who's willing to look a little less impressive today so you can be actually secure 20 years from now, hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment telling me which of these 10 surprised you most, and I'll see you in the next one. My name is Rehan. Stay smart with your money. And now, in the years that were supposed to be yours, you are Venmoing $1,588 a month to a 29-year-old who just posted an Instagram story from a rooftop bar in Austin with the caption, "Living my best life." I want you to feel this one for a second. $1,588 a month for 15 years of retirement is $285,840 transferred directly out of your nest egg. At a 4% safe withdrawal rate, sustaining that indefinitely requires an extra $7.1 million in your retirement accounts. You don't have that cushion. Almost nobody does, which means every month you are quietly setting your own retirement on fire to fund a lifestyle your child would have otherwise had to earn themselves. The wealthy retiree rule on this is ruthlessly clear. Episodic, not routine. A wedding gift? Fine. A down payment on their first house? Generous. An emergency medical bill? Of course. But the standing monthly transfer? That's not love. That's a hostage situation where you're paying your own ransom. After something that heavy, let's pivot to something a little more absurd. Stanley's original 1996 research found that 50% of American millionaires had never paid more than $235 for a watch. Half had never spent more than $399 on their most expensive suit. Half had never paid more than $140 for shoes. Only 1% had ever paid $15,000 or more for a watch. In the 2009 follow-up study, Stop Acting Rich, Seiko was the #1 watch brand among American millionaires at 19.2% market share. Rolex was second at 15.1%. Stanley noted something fascinating. The millionaires who actually did wear Rolexes almost always received them as gifts and were generally embarrassed to wear them in public. Embarrassed to wear the Rolex. The guy spending $18,000 on a watch and $3,500 on a suit isn't the millionaire. He's the guy trying to look like one. Stanley had a term for this demographic, the pseudo-affluent. Income rich, asset poor, confused about which one actually matters. Wealthy retirees understand something the pseudo-affluent never figure out. The audience you used to dress for, clients, colleagues, the boss, networking events, is gone, retired, done, vanished. The only person looking at your watch now is the pharmacy cashier ringing up your prescriptions. And I promise you, she does not care. This one snuck up on every generation at once, and it's quietly eating retirements alive. A 2022 study by West Monroe Partners found that the average American spends $273 per month on subscriptions. Here's the scary part. The average American thinks they spend $62. That's a $211 per month gap between what people actually spend and what they believe they spend. People are off by over $2,500 per year on expenses they voluntarily signed up for with their own credit cards. The streaming service you forgot you have is charging you $16.99 a month to host a show you watched in 2021. Then there's the food delivery 21. Then there's the food delivery app tax, which is its own special level of insanity. DoorDash typically marks up menu items 10% to 25% above in-store prices, then adds a service fee, then a delivery fee, then a small order fee, and then asks you to tip someone who is technically not their employee. A $14 burrito turns into $32 delivered to your door. A Finance Buzz analysis found that Uber Eats markups can hit 91% all in after fees and tip. You are paying nearly double for the same food because someone else's 2018 Honda Civic carried it 1.6 miles. The wealthy retiree move is depressingly simple. In the first month of retirement, they do a 1-hour subscription audit. They cancel the streaming services they don't watch, the gym membership they haven't used in 8 months, the premium Spotify when the free version works fine, the New York Times digital subscription they signed up for during COVID and forgot about. They keep 4 subscriptions. Done. Cancel $240 a month in subscription creep, skip the delivery apps, and you free up $4,800 per year. Invested at 7% over 20 years, that's $246,000. 1 hour, $250,000. I want to end on the most important one. If you remember nothing else from this video, remember this. There's a researcher named David Blanchett who published a study called Exploring the Retirement Consumption Puzzle. What he found is now known as the retirement spending smile. Retiree spending actually declines through your 60s and 70s, hits a low point around age 83, and only ticks back up at the very end of life for healthcare costs. The average retiree spends about 18% less in retirement than they thought they would. Financial planners call them the go-go years, the slow-go years, and the no-go years. The go-go years, your first decade of retirement, are your healthiest, most active, most excited years, and critically, your most financially vulnerable, because the first 5 years of retirement fall into what's called the retirement risk zone. It's the danger window, where one bad market year combined with overspending can permanently shrink your portfolio in a way you can never recover from. It's called sequence of returns risk, and it works like this. 2 retirees, same $1.2 million nest egg, same average 7% return over 30 years, same withdrawal rate. The retiree who happens to get bad market years at the beginning of retirement runs out of money at age 81. The retiree who gets the bad years at the end dies at 95 with $2.3 million still in the bank. Same return, different order, wildly different outcomes. This is why wealthy retirees defer the trophy purchases, the bucket list cruise, the European tour, the kitchen remodel, the new Mercedes, the boat. They don't pull the trigger in year 1. They wait 3 to 5 years. They let the risk zone pass. They make sure the math is still working before they spend the windfall. Where does that extra $500 a month go? Mostly commissions. The agent selling you that policy pockets the equivalent of your entire first year's premium as their commission. That's not financial planning. That's a sales job dressed up in a vest and a handshake. If you took that $500 monthly difference and invested it in a low-cost S&P 500 index fund for 30 years, it compounds to somewhere between $650,000 and $820,000, depending on market returns. Your whole life policy in that same window? It builds maybe $60,000 to $90,000 in cash value, which, fun detail, you have to borrow against and pay interest on to access. It's your money. They charge you interest to use it. Now let's talk about whole life's worst cousin, the variable annuity. This is the financial product retirees get sold most often, usually by someone with really good eye contact and a golf club membership. Kiplinger and other financial publications document that variable annuities charge 2% to 4% in all-in annual fees. Financial planner William Bernstein published a case study of one client paying nearly 3.8% annually on a $1.4 million variable annuity. That product generated $72,000 a year in guaranteed income. A comparable low-fee product would have generated $141,000 per year. That client lost $69,000 every single year to fees. For 18 years of retirement, that's $1.24 million in total fees paid. That's not a financial product. That's a heist with a glossy brochure. The wealthy retiree rule is simple. If the person selling it works on commission, the product isn't built for you. It's built for them. Let quotes talk about the fantasy purchase that quietly destroys more retirement plans than almost anything else. The vacation home. The pitch sounds beautiful. We'll use it 10 weekends a year. The grandkids will love it, and we can rent it out when we're not there to cover costs. Every single word in that sentence is a lie you're telling yourself. Here's what actually happens. You buy a $450,000 lake house at age 63. Property taxes, insurance, HOA fees, lawn service and utilities run $18,000 per year before you spend a single night there. Furnishing it on day 1, $30,000. New roof in year 6, $22,000. HVAC replacement in year 9, $11,000. Dock repair in year 12, $8,500. You use it 4 weekends in year 1 because furnishing it took all summer. 2 weekends in year 2. By year 5, your knees hurt, your kids are busy with their own lives, and the 3-hour drive feels longer every time. Thomas Stanley's data is crystal clear on this. The income affluent buy second homes. Real millionaires rent a house on the same lake for the 1 month a year they actually want to be there. Same view, same sunsets, none of the headaches, none of the property taxes, none of the sunk capital. A $450,000 lake house sitting idle, earning nothing, at a 7% opportunity cost for 20 years is $1.74 million you could have left to your grandchildren. Instead, you're leaving them a dock that needs replacing and a property tax bill they'll argue about at Thanksgiving. Number 6. The country club membership. Here's where I have to tell you the uncomfortable truth this entire video has been building toward. The wealthy retirees who stay wealthy aren't doing this because they're naturally frugal. They're not cheap. They're doing it because somewhere around age 48, they sat down and actually ran the numbers on every recurring expense in their life. And they were horrified by what they found. Once you see those numbers, you can't unsee them. And once you can't unsee them, you stop buying things. Not because you're disciplined, but because you're genuinely scared of running out of money. Which brings us to the country club. In 2024, the National Golf Foundation reported that median country club initiation fees rose from $32,000 to $58,000 between 2019 and 2023. That's an 81% jump in 4 years. Annual dues at a mid-tier club run $8,000 to $15,000. Add card fees, locker fees, guest fees, and the quarterly food minimum. Yes, that's a real thing where the club forces you to spend a certain amount on dining every quarter just to maintain your membership. So if you didn't eat there enough, you have to show up at the end of March and order $180 worth of club sandwiches you don't want just to keep your status as a member in good standing. Realistic all-in cost for a retired country club member, $18,000 to $28,000 every single year. Let's say you play 35 rounds a year at $22,000 in total annual costs. That's $628 per round of golf. The municipal course 10 miles away charges $45. You are paying 14 times the cost for slightly faster tea times and the ability to say "at the club" at dinner parties. That's not a hobby, that's a subscription to feelingimportant.com. We have to talk about this one because it's the trap nobody admits they're in. According to a 2024 savings.com study covered by CNBC, half of all American parents with adult children are providing regular financial support. The average amount? $1,588 per month. That's $19,056 per year. The same study found that 58% of those parents are helping fund their adult children's vacations, dining out, and entertainment. Let me paint you a picture. You worked 42 years. You skipped family vacations to save money. You drove the same Camry for 14 years. You said no to the kitchen remodel. You worked through migraines because you couldn't afford to miss a day. You missed your daughter's 6th grade recital because of a client deadline. You did all of that. That's not a car payment. That's a second retirement account. That's a paid-off beach condo. That's generational wealth you just drove away. You quote heard the line. The 2 best days of owning a boat are the day you buy it and the day you sell it. It's a cliche because every retiree who's ever owned one nods grimly when they hear it. New RVs lose 20 to 30% of their value in year 1. Class A motorhomes, the big luxury ones, lose more than half their value within the first 10 years. Boats follow the same brutal curve, except you also pay for storage, insurance, winterization, fuel, marina slip fees, and repairs. On a modest 24-foot fishing boat, those costs run $4,000 to $9,000 per year. The only things on earth that depreciate faster are meme stocks and celebrity NFTs. Here's Thomas Stanley's smoking gun on this one, and it's wild. In his book Stop Acting Rich, he found there were nearly 5 times as many boat owners in America as there were people who left estates of $1 million or more. In plain English, most boats in this country are owned by people who cannot actually afford them. The real millionaires? They're on their back porch on Saturday afternoon watching the guy who can't afford a boat drive a boat. Let me run a real number on you. Retired couple buys a $140,000 Class A motorhome at age 64. Over the next 12 years, they spend $28,000 on fuel, $14,000 on maintenance and repairs, $15,000 on campground and storage fees, and absorb $65,000 in depreciation. They use the RV for a total total of 13 weeks of vacation. That's an all-in cost of $9,384 per week of actual vacation time. For $9,384 a week, you could stay at a 5-star resort in the Amalfi Coast, where someone named Giovanni brings you cappuccino on a terrace overlooking the Mediterranean. Instead, you're parked at a KOA outside Branson, Missouri in 94-degree heat, trying to figure out why the AC stopped working while your spouse yells at you about the septic tank. That is the trade you made. Wealthy retirees didn't make that trade. They rented the RV once, hated it, stayed in hotels ever since. If you thought boats were brutal, wait until you see what timeshares look like on the resale market. Open eBay right now. Type in timeshare. There are active listings for $1, not 1,000. One, as in a single George Washington. Some listings are literally offering to pay you to take the timeshare off their hands just so they can stop paying the annual maintenance fees. That's not a metaphor. That's an actual real estate transaction happening in America right now. Timeshares purchased from the developer for $25,000 to $50,000 routinely resell for under $500. Even Disney Vacation Club units, the absolute best performing timeshares in the resale market, top out at maybe 15% of the original developer price. And every single year, the maintenance fees keep coming. $1,200 to $4,000 annually, rising forever. Even after you die, your kids inherit the obligation. Here's the math wealthy retirees run before they even sit through the sales pitch. $20,000 upfront purchase plus $1,100 per year in fees for 20 years equals $42,000 total. That works out to $350 per night for a hotel room you can only use at one specific resort during one specific week. The Hilton down the street is $180 a night with free breakfast, free Wi-Fi, and nobody trying to trap you in a 4-hour sales presentation with a countdown clock and a guy named Derek who keeps calling you folks. The timeshare industry, by total volume, is one of the largest real estate purchases Americans make every year, which means it's also one of the largest wealth transfers in the country, from you to a commissioned salesperson in a resort conference room with stale croissants and a limited time offer that somehow runs 365 days a year. I need to slow down here because this next one is darker and I want you to hear me clearly. A healthy 30-year-old can buy a $500,000 term life insurance policy for about $25 a month. The whole life version of that exact same death benefit from the exact same insurance company runs $450 to $550 per month. That's a 20 times markup. Two neighbors, same street in Charlotte, North Carolina, both 66 years old, both retired from corporate jobs last summer. Both walked away with almost identical 401k balances, roughly $1.3 million each. From your car window, you genuinely cannot tell them apart. Neighbor A just pulled up in a brand new BMW X7. Lease payment, $1,100 a month. In the driveway sits a $95,000 bass boat he's used twice this year. The country club just charged his car $2,200 for quarterly dues. Last week, his 32-year-old son's rent payment, $1,500, auto-transferred from his checking account like it does every single month. Neighbor B drives a 2016 Honda CR-V with 118,000 miles on it. No boat, no club membership. He buys his polo shirts at Costco. The watch on his wrist is a Casio he bought at Walmart in 2009 for $24. Fast forward 18 years. One of these men will be selling his house at age 84 to cover assisted living costs he can no longer afford. The other will be writing 5-figure checks to his grandchildren's college funds without blinking. Right now, standing in their driveways, you cannot tell which is which, but the math can. If you've ever wondered how people who look wealthy end up broke or how people who look ordinary end up rich, this video is going to connect every single dot. My name is Rehan and I've spent the last decade studying why the retirees who look the richest are usually the ones running out of money first. If you're trying to build wealth that actually lasts instead of evaporates by your 70s, hit that subscribe button. And if you're nowhere near retirement, stay with me because the habits these people built at 35 are the entire reason one is going to die rich and the other isn't. Here are the 10 things wealthy retirees stopped buying to stay wealthy. And the first one is hiding in plain sight, costing people hundreds of thousands of dollars they don't even see disappearing. The average new car loses 20% of its value the second you drive it off the lot. By year 5, it's lost 60% of its original sticker price. On a $55,000 SUV, that's $33,000 in depreciation. Gone. Whether you drive it every day or just polish it on Sundays. Wealthy retirees know this number cold. The middle class doesn't. And that's exactly why the middle class keeps trading in. Here's the part that stings. Thomas Stanley, the researcher who wrote The Millionaire Next Door, spent decades studying actual millionaires. What he found would shock most people. More millionaires drive Toyotas than BMWs. About 37% of the millionaires he surveyed bought their cars used. Only 23% drove a current model year vehicle. Stanley's killer stat. The typical American spends roughly 30% of their net worth on vehicles over their lifetime. Millionaires? About 1%. Now compare that to your typical income-affluent retiree, the guy who's on his fourth BMW lease since 2020. Every 3 years, he rolls his remaining payments into a new lease. The monthly hit stays around $950. The lease never ends. And somewhere in his head, he's convinced himself he's getting a deal because he writes it off. He is not getting a deal. He is renting status at $950 a month from a finance manager in a short-sleeve dress shirt who goes to Cancun twice a year on his commission. If you swap a 3-year trade-in cycle for a 10-year hold starting at age 50, the avoided depreciation alone, plus the opportunity cost of investing those savings at 7% annual return, adds up to roughly $480,000 by age 80.